In this video, we're going to transform this data into this professional-looking dashboard in just 12 minutes. If you want to follow along, you can download the Excel file in the description of the video. All right, let's get started. Let's assume we work for an electronics company and we received the following data from our accounting team. In table number 1, we have the revenue, the expenses, the profit, and the profit margin for years 2020 to 2024. In table number 2, we have the breakdown of this revenue by product type. In table number 3, we have the breakdown of the expenses by category. And in table number 4, we have the breakdown of the revenue for year 2024 by country. We want to turn this information into some clear visual graphs to help us extract key insights and present them to the management team. Let's start with table number 1. The main takeaway from this table is that the profit is increasing from 2020 to 2024, as well as the profit margin, which is the profit as a percentage of revenue. So let's select table number 1, go into Insert, and click on Recommended Charts. And we can go with the first option, which is Clustered Column, and press OK. For this chart, we only want to show the profit and the profit margin. To remove the revenue and the expenses, we can right-click on the chart, click on Select Data, and in this left section, we can uncheck Revenue and Expenses, and then press OK. Now let's change the title to Profit. We can double-click on the title and write Profit, and we can select it and click Ctrl-B to bold it. And we can also change the color of the columns to blue to make it consistent throughout the dashboard. So we can click on the column and then right-click and click on Format Data Series. And it's going to open the Format window on the right. This is where we can make changes to the graph. If we go in the first icon and then click on the fill, we can change the color in the fill icon and select this blue here. We can change the color for the profit margin line in the same way. We can click on the profit margin line and in the format window, click on the first icon and select the color to the same blue. We can also change the style of the line, so let's select this dashed line. To make the graph a bit cleaner, let's make sure that the profit margin line is above the profit columns, especially for this last column where there's a bit of overlap. To do that, we can change the scale of one of the axes. If we want to make the profit columns a bit lower, we can click on the left axis, go to the fourth icon, and we can see here that the maximum of the scale is set to $40,000, and we can change that to $50,000 and click Enter. And now we have the profit margin line above the profit columns. We can also change the step, which is the increment between each number in the scale. We can change that from 5,000 to 10,000 and click Enter to make it cleaner. Finally, since the profit margin numbers are important, we can click on the profit margin line, right-click, and click on Add Data Labels. To have the data labels appear above the line, we can simply click on one of the labels, and in the Format window, we can click on the fourth icon, go in the label position, and click on Above. Finally, since we have the data labels for the profit margins, we don't need this right axis anymore. We can remove the axis by clicking on it and then going in the text option section, and we can increase the transparency to 100%. As a last piece of formatting, we can click on these horizontal lines and press on Delete for a cleaner look. Now that we have finalized our graph, we can create a new tab that we can call Dashboard. And we can move it in first position by clicking and dragging it to the left. Then we can go in our Data tab, click on our graph, press Ctrl X to cut the graph, then go to the dashboard, go in this cell A6, for example, and press Ctrl V to paste the graph. Now let's go back in the Data tab and let's create a graph for the revenue by product type. So we can select the data, go into Insert, and click on Recommended Charts. We can scroll down and select this stacked column chart and press OK. Now, one issue is that the graph shows the total on top of the 3 revenue sources, but we should only show the 3 revenue sources which already sum to the total revenue. So what we're going to do is click on the total column that we want to remove, right-click, and click on Change Series Chart Type. We can scroll down and change the total from stacked column to a line and press OK. From here, we want to click on the line, right-click, and press on Format Data Series to open the formatting window. We can go to the first icon and select No Line. Then we can right-click and click on Add Data Labels to show the total. We can then click on one of the data labels, click on the fourth icon, and press on Above to have the data labels appear above the columns. Finally, we can make a few formatting changes. We can click on the left axis and increase the step from 10,000 to 20,000 and press Enter. We can also change the colors of these columns, so we can change the bottom column to a dark blue, then this middle column to a lighter shade of blue, and the top column to a light blue. We can click on the horizontal lines and click on Delete to remove them. We can change the title to Revenue by Product Type, and we can select it and press Ctrl B to make it pop. Now we can click on the graph, press Ctrl X, go to our Dashboard tab, and then go to a cell on the same line as our first graph and press Ctrl V to paste the graph. We can now go back to our Data tab, select the Expenses by Category table, click on Insert, Recommended Charts. We can select this stacked area graph and press OK. And we can see that we have the same issue that we had in the second graph, where we have the categories and we have the total on top. Here we can just remove the total, so we can click on the graph, right-click, click on Select Data, and uncheck the total. And we can press OK, and now we can do some formatting. First, let's change the title to Expenses by Category, and we can bold it. And finally, we can change the colors by right-clicking Format Data Series. So we can select this dark blue, select the second area, and select this lighter shade of blue. Then the third area, and we can select this light blue. And finally, for the smallest area, we can select this light gray. We can click on the horizontal lines, click on Delete. Then we can click on the graph, press Ctrl X, go to our dashboard, go underneath the first graph, and press Ctrl V. Finally, for the revenue by country, we can select the entire table, go into Insert, click on Maps, and click on this filled map icon. Now we can see that our biggest customer is the USA, but it is barely noticeable in this graph because the scale goes until $89,000, which is our total. To remove the total here, we can drag the data up, and now the map looks much better. So we can just rename the chart as Revenue by Country, and we can bold it, click on the graph, Control X, go to our dashboard, go underneath the second chart, and press Control V. We can finish up with some formatting to make it look nicer. We can fill these top cells until column Q in dark blue, and we can give a title for this dashboard. We can call it Financial Performance. And then underneath it, we can write Year End 2024. And let's just select this range and change the font to white and bold it to make it stand out. Let's make it a bit bigger by clicking on this icon twice. And we can add a border underneath it by selecting these cells B3 to Q3, going in the border icon. And before adding a border, we can change this line color to white, and then we can select a thick bottom border. Finally, we can reduce the width of column Q to make sure everything is aligned. And then we can go in the View tab and remove the grid lines. And there we have it. We now have a clean dashboard full of insights. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you want to see more tutorials like this one.